He was born beautiful and surrounded by love. But after the revolution broke in his home country, Iran, he was forced to move to boarding school at the age of 10 to England. This was a big move because he wasn't surrounded by family anymore. And it was the first time that he realized that you have to trust in something more divine than just human beings. But it was not then that his inward journey began. First, he went on to conquer the fashion world by becoming one of the first male supermodels. He sizzled as the face of Versace, Guess, Levi's. He made us drool as Madonna's topless love interest in her video, Express Yourself. Then after a chance meeting with Nelson Mandela, he decided to give up the high life and journey inwards to find a greater purpose and balance. He studied in various schools and trained in ashrams in India. He read and even wrote several books deconstructing the 500,000-year-old wisdom of Ayurveda in easy-to-understand terms, and slowly became the most sought-after yoga and Ayurvedic therapist and the go-to guru for all of Hollywood. So if you're really stressed or having a major crisis, or the time has come for you to make that big change in your life, and you have the will and, of course, the cash, then he will move in with you, take stock of your life, change your goals, your diet, your life, and put you right back on track. Please put your hands together to welcome Yogi Yogi Cameron. Yogi Cameron, you're quite particular about being called Yogi.
Yes.
Why is that? I mean, a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Is it because you want to honor the journey that you've come from, or is it to remind yourself of who you need to be?
I think both. You know, I used to be Cameron in the fashion business, and then that was sort of my outward journey of beauty. And once I went on the inner beauty journey, I added Yogi just to remind myself that I'm on this journey.
Was there an actual trigger for you to eventually get on this journey? Or was it a realization that now I need to find a 2.0 version of myself since my modeling days are going to come to an end?
Yeah. Well, I'd just gone to Nelson Mandela's home, and we were doing a Johnny Versace benefit show. And I sort of looked around the room and I thought, you know, I've done so much, but I don't know so much about my inner self. I've sort of read about it, I do yoga, but I haven't gone on that inner journey. I've sort of conquered the outer journey. And at that point, and I met Nelson Mandela and I spoke to him, and you know, I was looking at this guy and I was saying, you know, he's been in jail 27 years and he's so peaceful and he's so kind and so gentle, and I don't think anybody else could do that. I went back to New York, I stopped modeling, and I started to go on the inner journey. And then I came to India. I came to India about 2003. I had read about Ayurvedic medicine, I was doing some yoga, and the first thing, you know, Dr. Vasudeva, who I was studying with, said to me is, mind and body cannot be separated. You have to study Ayurvedic medicine with yoga. That's the completion of two. You can't separate them. And at that time, I took the inner journey.
You talked about seeing Nelson Mandela and seeing how peaceful he was. Is it also because the life of a supermodel is the complete polar opposite of that, because you're in such a fickle world of, you know, highs and lows, drugs, starvation, indulgence? Talk to us about that a little bit.
You know, the fashion business is fast. There's no other business, Bollywood, Hollywood, it's all pretty slow compared to the fashion business. Fashion is quick, you know, every 6 months something new comes out. So it's going to have the highs, the lows, the worst and the best of everything. And it has the greatest of people in it and the terrible people in it. It's kind of like the best of that movie that takes you on a roller coaster ride, and at the end you feel fulfilled because you've got it all. It's like anything in life, you got to choose, right? There's the best and worst of people. You might be in an office and you work with great people, horrible people. You have to choose. And a lot of us are going to just attract what we put out. So it's really not about what's out there, drugs and everything like that. It's about what do we choose? What are we thinking about? Where's our mind? Then we're going to attract all the things that we do. So it really has nothing to do with the world itself and the people. It has to do with what we're thinking about and what we want. And then we're bringing all of that to ourselves. And that's at the core of what yoga is. Think those things and then they'll come your way.
But, you know, for a young person, let's say, who, because that's been your career, so let's talk about that for a second, that if a young person wants to be a supermodel, but yet doesn't want to lose themselves, wants to be centered and, you know, live the yogi code, as you say, how do they do it in practical terms? Because you still have to chase the, you know, the next casting, the big roles, there's a casting couch sometimes. You got to play the game. How do you balance both?
Well, if you want to go into the jungle, there's wild animals, right? You can't say, I want to go into the jungle and I want to go into the forest, but I don't want to be attacked. Well, I can't guarantee that, right? I want to jump in the water, but I don't want to get wet. It's not possible, right? So there's a terrain that goes with every job, you know, with Bollywood, with Hollywood, with corporate life, with Wall Street. You go in it knowing that it already exists and that you have to find your rhythm within it. You can't expect that world to be different. You can't go in there and say, I'm going to change it. You have to say, how am I going to live within peacefulness within it? And it's kind of a challenge, but it's a nice challenge, you know.
But I still don't understand. Like, if I want to be able to, let's say, I love my wine, I love my food, I love an occasional late night, I'm ambitious. Does it mean I have to forego my health and well-being? I cannot have both? Or can I? How do I do both?
Well, you're talking about balance, right? You want balance in life, or do you not?
After meeting you, I suppose I do want balance because you make me feel anxious about not wanting balance, you know?
I think across the board, everybody wants balance, right? You have to find your own balance. You can't compare it to mine or yours. You know, we have to find, where is it? You know, Ayurvedic medicine doesn't say be healthy. It says, here is how you can be healthy. Now choose your level of health. You know, in my first book, The Guru in You, I wrote about a friend of mine. You know, I'd come back from India, I'd living in Spain at the time, and he would, you know, come over to my house and he'd be like, okay, let's go out. You know, and I'd be like, well, you know, I got some sadhana to do and stuff, and then he'd go to my fridge and he opened it up and said, you don't have anything in the fridge, what's wrong with you? You're not eating, you know. So he was always thinking I was extreme, and I was always thinking he's so extreme, right? But in the end, we agreed that I have found my balance, he's found his balance. Now, if we want to interact, we've got to meet somewhere in the middle, right? But we got to be okay with it. You know, once I'm grounded in my balance, I can go anywhere, and it doesn't matter what anybody's doing. People can be doing drugs and drinking and staying up late. It doesn't matter. It's just when I'm not balanced and I don't feel balanced, then I'm upset with the world, you know, and that's extreme. I have to first find the balance within myself. So you have to be comfortable with yourself and your balance, and then mingle with everybody else in their imbalance or balance.
So you make it sound very simple, but I've been binge watching your videos and your interviews, and it seems like a lot of effort. I mean, there are things like room temperature, how to tune into your body all the time, how much quantity, what you're eating, how fast you're eating, how slow you're eating, what your mental state is. At the end, isn't it just a bit narcissist even to be thinking all the time about well-being? I wonder.
I'm a yogi on the path. I need to do that. It's a part of just naturally it comes to me. For you, it's unnatural because you've got so many things going on. Health is not, you know, at the top of your priority, but health is at the top of my priority. You know, here we're talking about politics, entertainment, well-being. We're talking about everything, but in the end, if you don't have your health, you can't enjoy anything. You can't enjoy the food you're eating. You can't enjoy the interactions. Health should be at the top of your list, because if you're in bed sick, what are you going to do? You can't go to work, you can't interact, you can't do anything. So it's really, even when we're talking about environment, it should really be environmental health, your